Hi everyone, welcome to Outdoor Bound TV. I'm Kurt Walbeck. On this season of Outdoor Bound, we've been telling some of the stories of companies that have kind of gone out of their way to lend a hand to our nation's veterans. Well, on this week's show, we get a chance to tag along as Chris Ham's HHA USA puts on an incredible event on the southern part of the state of Wisconsin. Now, he's partnered with other Wisconsin companies, Vortex Optics and Brewpub Pizza, to bring nearly 200 veterans and first responders together for a 3-day weekend. First, they'll be taking a tour of the Vortex Optics facility. They'll be taking part in a Neested Foundation trap shoot, and they'll be finishing up the weekend with an HHA USA 3D archery shoot and a Chris Cruzy concert. Let's check it out right now.
Chris Ham, president and founder of HHA USA. That's a 501c3 nonprofit based out of central Wisconsin, Wisconsin Rapids. Started that in 2019. 2 years ago, I was down at a tour with my current sales manager and a couple veterans that were in town for one of our archery shoots at Vortex, and talking with Seamus. God basically put the idea on my heart. Hey, we need to have an event here. This place is pretty doggone cool. I still get the kid at Disneyland. Every time I walk through those doors, how neat would it be for our veterans and servicemen and women to experience this as well? So I pitched the idea to Seamus at Vortex about a private tour, invitation-only tour. And so we did that, had 140, 150 people come through the doors. We had Mission Barbecue jumped on board. I'm a big barbecue fan, and so they came and catered the food for that. And it was just really neat to see the smiles on those faces. But the big thing to me is that anytime we had done shoots in the past, you know, we might have 100 shooters for the weekend. There might be 6, 8 vets, first responders in that crowd. Yesterday was it was almost the climax of everything that we've been building towards. It was the largest concentration of our crowd that we're trying to serve to in one place at one time, and just hearing the conversations and seeing, yeah, I'm friends with this guy on social media, and seeing him talking to this guy, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be good. I can't wait to hear about that. So there's just so many neat things when you bring like-minded people together. There's going to be lifelong friendships made here. There's going to be new nonprofits started. There's going to be guys going on hunts for years to come, just out of this weekend. I mean, even as a Vortex user myself, it's very cool to go and see where it's made. And so many of the people that came yesterday were Vortex fanboys, just like their HHA, their Matthews guys. And so for them to come and see where these products that they're so passionate about, where those are made, and not only just the products, but to meet the people behind them. I mean, you're partnered with Vortex, you know what kind of organization that is. They are true blue, from the guy that sweeps the floor to the guy at the top and everybody in between. And so for our attendees to be able to experience that, it was pretty special, because they were fans when they got to Wisconsin. They're really going to be fans when they go home. Just a little bit of the backstory. For people that are familiar with the Honor Flight Network, I became a ground volunteer for them back in 2016 after being introduced to that by Jonathan Lucroy when he was still playing for the Milwaukee Brewers. He had gone on an honor flight out of Milwaukee, and I texted him, asked him what it was about, and he said, hands down, the coolest experience of my life. So ironically, another Milwaukee Brewers catcher kind of solidified my path to the honor flight. We were out at our local VFW at a Bill Schrader book signing. And lo and behold, the president of the local honor flight was in line in front of us. So struck up a conversation with him, said, I love what you're doing, how can I be a part of it? And he said, well, we're always looking for volunteers. So for a couple of years out of Mosinee, I was a grunt, I was a ground volunteer. And it was very gratifying for a guy that in his day job is an owner of a company to kind of take off my owner pants and just be one of 200 people a part of something bigger. And it was very humbling to be able to do that and to serve our veterans in that way. So one night I'm driving home from the airport in Mosinee back to Wisconsin Rapids, and I thought, how can I leverage my success of my for-profit business to benefit the honor flight? And so I started using my connections at Matthews, Vortex, Danner Lacrosse. Obviously I'm the owner of HHA, so dozens and dozens and dozens of sponsors to get items to use as silent auctions at 3D archery shoots. So that became our primary fundraising vehicle for about 3 years. And we raised just over $90,000 from 2017 to 2019 under the Never Forgotten Honor Flights raffle license and their 501c3. So the more of those shoots that I started to do, I would have people coming from further and further away, and boy, we'd really like for you to do one of these in our town. And it's like, well, sorry, I don't have a fundraising bucket to do that. I'm kind of working in central Wisconsin. So at that point, it became pretty evident that I had to start my own gig. And so around that same time, I had also gone 2016, 2017, the Department of Defense holds an Olympics for combat wounded veterans called the Department of Defense Warrior Games. And they have seated volleyball, wheelchair basketball, cycling, swimming, rifle shooting, and they also have archery. And a gentleman that I knew, his name was Frank Barricaro, a U.S. Army veteran out of the state of Georgia, was wounded during the global war on terrorism, had PTSD, and had found therapy through the sport of archery in doing that. And so Frank was a participant for a couple years at the DoD Warrior Games, took bronze one year, took gold the second year with an HHA sight, so that was kind of cool. So I'm tracking this whole thing, and I think it was April of 2016, I get a message from Frank, and he's like, hey, what are you doing next month? And lives in Georgia, but from New York, so just that enthusiastic kind of Italian Rocky Balboa stamina to him, if you will, or that pizzazz to him. And so we go out to West Point. The games are at a different military base every year, so it happened to be in West Point that year. We fly out there, went out there with one of my best friends, my staff manager at the time, our social media guy. And I will never forget this day as long as I live. I'm sitting in the bleachers at West Point in a gymnasium watching injured veterans shooting bows and arrows. And there was a gentleman, I think we've all seen it, goes into the service, looks completely normal, and was blown up by an IED. Face completely unrecognizable, gentleman had no fingers. And he had a woman standing next to him, giving him one arrow at a time. And he was shooting a bow and arrow with a mouth tab at 20 meters, better than I could on probably my best day. And that, I will never forget that image as long as I live. And that day changed my life. I looked at those guys that I was sitting with. I said, number one, I'm never ever going to say that I'm having a bad day in my life again after seeing what this guy was going through and doing. And then also, I have to do something about this. So honor flight is on my heart now, PTSD, and the sport of archery. So a sport that I have made my living in, that I've been doing before I could ride a bike, that I had almost taken for granted at some point, I'm now seeing the therapeutic aspect of archery and how it can impact the veteran community, first responders with PTSD. And so when we started HHA USA, heavy influence to the honor flight stuff, but also working with other organizations that get veterans into the outdoor space. Niestead Foundation being one of them. We're partnered with them this weekend on a sporting clays shoot, but they get vets out hunting and fishing, and so that's kind of the maybe a little longer version than it should have been, but that's the Cliff Notes version. I'm obviously very passionate about it, and I can't any less words would do a disservice to the building of the story and just the origin of it.
Outdoor Bound TV is brought to you by Suffix and VMC Hooks.
So after the Vortex event on Friday, you know, our main fundraiser vehicle over the year has been 3D archery shoots, and so we're doing that Saturday, Sunday, just like we always do at the Blackhawk Bow Hunters in Verona. Great archery club, long-time club, and actually a pretty cool connection that I don't even think you know, but when the Optimizer was launched back in 1995-96, one of the elder statesmen at that club actually brought that design to my dad through a mutual friend. So it's kind of cool that we're coming almost full circle 30 years later. The birth of the Optimizer has a lot to do with that archery club that we're holding our archery shoot at today. So that's a little bit of an aside, but yeah, so holding the 2-day archery shoot there with those guys. Great course. They've got a beautiful course there. We've got a long range shot set up that we like to have a little fun with, 65, 70 yards, launch some arrows, and Vortex was kind enough on my idea to sponsor that this year. So every long shot event that we have through the course of our 4 events, one of the winners is going to get a Vortex rangefinder out of the deals. 3D archery shoots are, for the most part, they're competitive. You know, you can keep score, no different than playing golf, but our events are a little different. Yes, the clubs still hand out scorecards, but it's more about having fun, having that camaraderie and coming and raising some funds. But you're essentially just walking around a 3D course shooting, you know, 3-dimensional foam animals, elk, deer, bear, turkey, you name it, at various distances, and giving your buddies a hard time if they're losing arrows and not shooting so well. So last May, Joe Rhodes from the Neested Foundation came up on my invitation. We'd been partnered together for about 5 years at that point, and we wanted to do something more as far as him coming up here and hosting an event or co-hosting an event with us. So Joe and his team have successfully run a sporting clays event outside of St. Louis for the last 5 years. I'm not a sporting clays guy, but it made sense. Hey, let's bring the clays guy up here and let him do his thing. So he came up to our event in Warrens. We actually met in Madison the night before, did a little recon, went to a couple different gun clubs, and we settled on the Oregon Sportsman's Club, which ironically, a couple of the folks that are members out there are huge supporters of the Badger Honor Flight. And so it seemed like a natural fit. Joe, I talked to him, I was there before I came here, and he was very happy with the turnout for a first year, because people don't know us as a sporting clays organization. We're archery guys, so for year one we were pretty happy. But we're coming back next year with a vengeance, and we're going to have an even bigger event.
Hey, it's Matzo Matt here for Brewpub Lots of Matzo Pizza, and we are here at Tyrrell Basin, partnering up with HHA USA and HHA Sports. You know, is a couple of months ago, actually maybe even 6 months to a year ago, where we sat down and had a chance to meet Chris Ham for the first time, and really found out that we had a lot of the same goals and a lot of the same vision when it came to supporting our veterans and supporting those men and women who have served us and who have given so much. And we kind of sat down, and Chris came up with this idea of having a big weekend of bringing veterans together down here in the Madison area. And tonight, it's kind of all coming to a head. We're all coming together here at Tyrrell Basin. We at Brewpub Lots of Matzo Pizza brought in Chris Cruzy. He's a gentleman, obviously, that very famous here in Wisconsin, finished second in The Voice, and then lives up near the Barron area. But he has a real passion for veterans as well, and has actually gone overseas and has performed for veterans and has a special place in his heart for them. So he came down here. He's going to be performing tonight. Just an awesome voice, does a great job. We're serving up some pizza, and it's kind of cool because pizza is one of those things that brings people together. And that's exactly what we're doing tonight, trying to just unite everybody, show support, bring people together for veterans, and have that open line of communication and talk and just be there for one another. And then the weekend's going to finish up tomorrow. So overall, another great way for us to be able to partner with HHA USA and show the veterans that we support them and that we want to be able to honor them for their service and everything that they've done.
Brewpub Pizza's got their trailer here. Chris Cruzy was warming up inside a little while ago. Me and my team were in there setting up the silent auction. We've got 65 items on silent auction, from Vortex Optics to HHA sights to Matthews bows to boots, you name it. So it's going to be a great evening. It's going to be, selfishly, it's finally going to be a time for me to hopefully just relax and sit back a little bit and just kind of get off in the corner and watch the room and just see these conversations happen. But it's so special to see the work that we're doing, and then just the camaraderie that's coming out of it. Right. It's pretty special. This isn't just a Wisconsin thing anymore. It's funny because when I first started this, I wanted to do, we were going to do two or three years in Wisconsin, then we were going to branch out. And it was a very humbling reminder to me that God's ways and our ways are two different things. That this has become a nationwide nonprofit, even though I haven't left home in 7 years, other than, maybe 50 or 60 miles. But yeah, literally people coming in from coast to coast for our events. So it's very humbling and it just speaks to, not to myself, but just to the magnitude and the importance of the mission. It's not just something that we're seeing. People are recognizing that in a nationwide sense and coming here and converging on Wisconsin to raise money that is impacting and saving lives.
I am very blessed by every single person in this room. I've got deeper relationships with some than others, but as a group, we are doing great things. There's people in this room literally from all over the country. And I have been thanked more this weekend than I have in the last 22 shoots, but I'm not doing anything. I'm nobody special. I was obedient to a calling that God put on my heart, and that's why I'm doing this. And because of that, there's things happening in this room through these people, through these events that we're putting on, that I could have never dreamed of. And after this is done, we're going to get Mr. Chris Cruzy up here and have ourselves a show. So.
Diesel wound up, she's running like never before. There's a speed zone ahead, but alright. Don't see a cop inside. 6 days on the road, and I'm gonna make it home tonight. Got me 10 full gears in a Georgia overdrive.
Outdoor Bound TV is brought to you by Rapala and Mountain Dew.
What an incredible event put on by these 3 Wisconsin companies. A special thank you to Vortex Optics, Brewpub Pizza, and of course HHA USA for giving of their time and talents to organize such an incredible event. Hey, have you missed an episode of Outdoor Bound TV? Well, no worries. Log on to the Outdoor Bound TV YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button and all the episodes for the last 19 seasons are right there. You can catch them all commercial free. And we hope that you'll join us again here next week when we'll bring you more great hunting and fishing action from around the U.S., around Canada, and around the world, right here on Outdoor Bound TV.
Outdoor Bound TV is brought to you by Mission Crossbows and HHA Sports.
4, 5, 8, 6.
It's a little above my pay grade, and see Mickey Mouse himself. Chuck Norris was a big thing, you know, Sylvester Stallone. I'm not in that good a shape, so probably want to edit that part out, but I'm a flatland 40-yard 3D guy myself. Now I'm comparing Vortex to Mickey Mouse.
Outdoor Bound TV is brought to you by Matthews Archery and Vortex Optics.